we got Tristan here. We're gonna go pretty basic. The first thing you have, if I have a camera like Tristan, or sorry, that I like what these guys are using here. So Ethan's got a Panasonic G85, Preston does too. DSLRs and mirrorless cameras are super awesome, really affordable, but their audio is horrible. And if your audio is not good, then your film is going to fail quicker than if the video is not good. Statistics have shown poor audio turns an audience off faster, whether it's a festival jury, people swiping on TikTok. If the audio is bad, people will move on quicker than if the image is not as good. So, and you don't have to get expensive stuff to have decent audio. So, first thing that we have a ton of, these are one of those things, take advantage of us having it so you don't have to buy one, but one of the first things I recommend buying is a shotgun mic. This one's like 50 bucks, and it even has an input for a lav mic. So this thing can record from two separate sources all off of this one, and it is a small rig. Really easy to operate with. Now, the cell phone, kind of the same thing as your issue with mirrorless and DSLRs, really bad audio. Whereas a cinema camera might come with XLR ports for a bigger mic, or in this case, the top handle also records. I do not want to have one source of audio. If you lose that audio, you have nothing. And that's super important. If you're sitting down with a politician, an author, an artist, a scientist, you might not get that interview again. Some of the interviews that I've done took months, if not years, to land, especially when it's a politician or somebody. So you want to make sure that you have some backups. I like to record audio straight to my cameras where you can, and then I like to have a separate source, if that's at all possible. But sometimes you don't have the equipment, the budget, or even the room. You can easily do this stuff all by yourself with a little practice. So shotgun mics are one option. The other one that we're gonna use, that I like to use regularly, is the Lavs. This is just a little Tascam DR10L. This is the Pro version. This one takes 2 AAA batteries, and it has it's such an easy interface to operate with these that if you don't have to take Joey's audio classes to be able to just operate these well. And we have a lot of these. And we have the other version that's older that I actually like more because it's simpler. It doesn't have as many features. And my audio is just pretty much someone like if he's my subject matter expert, I just want to hear him cleanly. And that's all I'm worried about. I'm not an audio professional necessarily. And so we just have this simple lav. This is one of the more awkward things that we have to do as producers is get somebody that you don't know laved up. I want to be able to help them, but you also want to make sure that you're not overly, handsy. So I like to just instruct them to do it themselves. Tristan, will you put this up your shirt? Right it up to your shirt, and I will. There's a couple of reasons for that. If you have a jacket like this, then yeah, you can just stick it inside there. But I like to have, and then I can help at this point. Yeah, let me see. Some people, especially if you're working with, I've found with certain news people, journalists, politicians, they get on camera a lot more. They're more comfortable laving themselves up sometimes. You don't want to have that cord dangling ever. And you definitely want to have, it's okay to see the lav. I don't mind seeing it, but I don't want it to be overly distracting. But something like this is fine. I don't want that cable hanging out because they will mess with it. They'll start playing with it, especially if they're nervous. They'll start just kind of messing with that wire, and then you'll start picking that up, and it will be a distraction with their hands. You don't want them fidgeting with stuff. So there's nothing wrong with just saying, hey, put it in your pocket, don't touch it. And then try to grab them before they do stuff like go to the restroom. They're gonna forget about that lav. Happens all the time. Now, I'm not gonna go into every single thing that we write down on a clapperboard. Like I said, that's more of a spring semester thing that I like to discuss in advanced production. But if I'm doing a documentary, I don't really care about a lot of this. I'm probably editing myself or within my team. We're thinking small production here. So I might just have the name of the project and when you're on a big set, 30, 100 people, it's good to have like what reel, what take, who is camera operator. You might have 3 camera operators, but in this case, it's just a documentary, me, and I'm just gonna put Tristan in the scene. He is our talent. Now, a couple of things about the clapperboard that you can do to make it a little better for your talent. Don't smack it right in their face. You can easily just drop it and it'll still register that spike. Now what we're doing when we do the clap is that way the audio and the cameras and the audio on the lav, or if you have a recorder, someone holding a boom pole, we're going smaller today than that. All of that spikes in the NLE so you can see it and quickly line everything up. Now, Premiere Pro has a great tool, and I'm sure DaVinci probably does too, where you can quickly just sync all your cameras and your lavs together. But if you have that spike, it does work a little better. So the other thing being, and I haven't got to composition yet, I do want it to be in focus. I need to be able to see what that writing is. There's certain colors that you want to stay away from. Use something bold. Black and blue is usually pretty good. I try to stay away from like reds and that kind of stuff, but again, we'll go into more of this stuff next semester. Sometimes you can do the clapper at the end if the spike is all that matters. If you forget but the content was good, you don't want to do it over. It's still worth at the end just going through and doing a quick clap. Now what I have to do, and I've seen you guys do it too, around the building, sometimes we forget the clapper or it's just not that important to have the information, and just literally clapping will sync that up and it'll save you time. So if we're looking at Tristan up here, I don't want to, this composition's terrible right now. It's just a quick setup, right? I got his head in the center frame. It'd be fine if I was just doing something quick for like a podcast, simple marketing piece, but you want it to be more cinematic. It will help with algorithms, it'll help with distribution, film festivals, Netflix and big streaming services and things like that aren't going to be as likely. You have to have one hell of a compelling story if everything was shot this basic. So we can make it look a lot more cinematic, and it doesn't matter what the camera is. First thing I want to do compositionally is I usually, almost always, but it depends on the subject, I want to get about eye level. I want to be on that same plane with that individual. Now, if I'm going into a fictional film and I have like a nemesis that's about to take over and you go like God angle, go low for something dramatic, or go really high if somebody's losing something. But with documentary, most of the time I want to be eye level and feel like it's like I'm sitting at a coffee shop with that person. You want to make it very personal. Put him a little bit over on the right frame, and if I have him over on the right side of the frame, then I want to have him looking left across the camera, okay? So some of this I can do by positioning him or blocking, but some of it I might do by moving the camera around. Kind of depends on my space. I want to think about my rule of thirds, and if I can get him positioned so that he's on one side or the other. In this case, he's wearing lettering. I like to avoid that costume-wise unless that pertains to the story, but I don't want to have like some sports team or brand that's in the way unless it's like he works for that company. Like if I'm at HTC and I have an HTC shirt on, not bad. But if I can have no text, no font, no logos that have a specific direction, then I have the ability to flip him around in post, back and forth. So what I might do if I have 10 interviews, I might cut everyone, I might set everyone the same way, but then in post I might flip everyone around. It makes it look more conversational. Now I like to show, I have the cell phone as a secondary. So my first camera here, and I'm treating this as camera 1 at this particular point. It's a medium shot, I don't mind that. I like to have a lens with options. This is a 24-70, so I can go wider if I need to. They're not as nice as prime lenses for letting light in, but at least it gives me some flexibility here. I think this is a nice personal shot. I want to be careful about distracting things. So if I'm going for a medium close-up, then I don't want to have him cut off the frame, and I don't really want to have, like, I either want the arms in or the arms out. I don't want to have it kind of half and half, so from that particular angle too. Now with my second angle, I need to have that either, and this is literally just something we talked about yesterday, I need to have that either 20 millimeters in and out, So if I'm at, right here I'm at 70, I need my second angle to be at least around 50 with that to be different. I don't want, otherwise it creates a jump cut. Now the other thing I could do, and you could go pretty extreme, I could go way wider. Right here I'm at 24. I'm pretty wide open for this particular, as wide open as this lens will go. So my next angle, so if I have a second camera side by side, if I want to put my cell phone right next to it or another C100 right next to it, the next one needs to be at least 20 millimeters further in, or I need to reposition that second one to be lower, higher, left, right, 30 degrees somewhere else. So if I'm going to be side by side, then I need to be a lot tighter or a lot more wide, or if I'm going to go with the second angle, I could go with the profile shot, for instance, but I need to have something separating that. So I could have it at the same millimeters. They could both be at 40 like it is right now, but I have a more of a profile angle to cut to something else. And then if you can go even with the close-up, this could be my emotional shot. So it might cut to that anytime that I have like laughter or tears or just something that's worth cutting to for something that, you know, this shot, I don't want to do it 50-50. It's probably more like 85-15. Something that we haven't talked about yet, lighting. Let's jump into that real quick. You could use just single light. You could use sunlight, whatever it is. One option that you see very broadcast is called high key lighting with no shadows. Depending on the emotion being conveyed, if we're talking about war crimes, if we're talking about suicide, then maybe we want some heavier shadows, some more contrast to make it more emotional. But if you're interviewing two people that are getting married, then you're going to want a lot of light, and you're going to want it to be very bright and very dreamlike. So it just depends on what your interview's for, and it could be anything. So let's assume, we'll just go kind of with the neutral thing here, and the other thing he has is glasses. When I can get away with it, the first thing I ask, do you wear glasses all the time? And if they do, that's part of their character. Have them wear their glasses and then work your lighting around it. But if they just wear them like I wear mine when I'm on my computer, don't have that person wear their glasses. How people recognize them is how you want them to be. So if it's like reading glasses or just driving glasses, try to talk them out of it because you have to worry about reflections. So can you leave yours on for a second, Tristan? So I just want to start with one light. I see people do the opposite. And if you get into big production, if you have a grip truck that you're hiring right now, they might charge you for every light stand, everything that comes off. Light one thing at a time, add one light at a time, and then have an idea of what you need. Being my key light, this is the light, this is him looking into the sun. This is him looking into the main source. So where he's facing, I want that light, the key light, the main light that I have, I want that to be where Tristan's looking into. Roughly, you don't want to blind him, but I want it to be in that direction. So I want that source to feel like he's looking at the sun. Now, the glasses cause a slight issue because when I can, I like my lights to be eye level too, but that's not necessarily super important. The reason I do is because it creates more of a consistent shadow here. But if I go higher, it's going to lower his shadow, but it's also going to get rid of some of that reflection, hopefully. But I do have some really heavy shadows here on his right side. And so this is where your light 2, your second light, called a fill light, comes into play. And now we see, by adding that light, I've killed all of that shadow, but I've taken a lot of the emotion out too. And, you know, let's pretend Tristan's his story's more dramatic than high key lighting. Let's get it to be a little shadow. Let's lift it off. Let's put it on. It just gives me a little bit. This is extremely subjective. If you get good at lighting, then you have a nice bright future for sure. Lighting is what will separate your production value for most audiences before having like 8K, you know, and 300 frames per second. Good lighting is going to really, really help. So clean audio, good lighting, good composition.
And then of course you gotta ask it questions and have a good subject matter expert here. But I do wanna add one more light real quick. And this could be, I can kind of cheat it a couple different ways. I just don't want to get it in the frame. But this is what we call a hair light. And so, and I don't love it, but if I had it. So I gotta make sure I don't get it in the shot, first off. And it's probably way too bright. What I'm trying to do with this light, okay? So my first light, my fill light, that's for him looking into. My second light, sorry, my first light, my key light, that's for him to look into, that's his main light source. My second light, my fill light, is going to be how I control my shadows. Now, with my last light, the one thing I want to figure out here is I'm trying to separate him from the background. That's the goal of the hair light. So especially on a green screen, but of course we're not using green screen for the purposes, you want to separate that subject away. What I'm going to do here is toggle on and off. Real subtle, you don't see nearly as much. It might be up on his shoulder. I think I need a little more to get some more here. But basically it's going to be behind him to some extent, often up high, looking down. I don't know how much, if I can go much further. Yeah. And I would probably, if I had more time, I'd take these barn doors off too. And those right down. I like going to the side go on the way here, what I'm going to do. Flip it off, on. It's a little too heavy, you see on his hair. There. So just a simple little hair light. It's not perfect, but you get the concept. So fill light over here, key light right here, and your hair light in the back. That's a pretty standard 3-light setup that I use quite a bit. Like I said, you could go with one really strong light, you could go with 2. I love using windows, I love using natural light. If I can pull a lamp and have the lamp behind them and it works as a key light and a practical, that's amazing when I can make all that. So we've got him on a pretty cool color tone, pretty blue. The natural light is going to be 5600, that's the sunlight. I could go colder, let's see if this one will only go up to 56. I could try to warm that up by going lower, down to 3200. Same thing with this. You could, I know some cinematographers who like to change it up, have a little blue and orangish tone or red and green tone to try and counter that. I like to go warmer most of the time. I feel like if it's too blue, too cool, it feels very corporate-y, and to me that's not a real warm story. So I usually like to have warmer tones on my lights when I can.